The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local community-centered journalism today by signing up to be a monthly sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. It doesn't take much money to support local news.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. There are a few bike-related items in the news cycle right now. Today on the program, we'll be bringing you info on new rules in effect this week around the minimum distance drivers need to give when passing cyclists and other vulnerable road users. We'll also zip up the show with best practices for merging lanes during construction season. But we kick things off with Go By Bike Week. It's a province-wide event encouraging people to cycle. Run by the nonprofit society Go By Bike BC, riders can log their trips online and enter to win prizes. To mark the event in Nanaimo, each day of the week there's a station set up at a different location around town. On Tuesday night, I visited the station at Cullery Dam and took the chance to ask some folks about cycling in the Harbour City.
My name is Alex. I'm the event coordinator for Hub City Cycles, and I also coordinate Go By Bike Week.
What do you want people to know about Go By Bike Week as, we're kind of halfway through?
Well, this year is the 30th edition, so it's been going on for quite a long time, and I feel sort of honored, to be honest, to coordinate this type of event, knowing that there's so much history behind it. I had no idea that so many people got to be part of this, especially in Nanaimo and Victoria as well, especially Vancouver. And seeing vendors and people that are still interested in this is very exciting, to be honest. And seeing other companies such as Evolve e-bikes also wanting to support this, and Modo as well, is just very cool to see support from local community to continue Go By Bike Week.
If people do come out to a Go By Bike Week event, what do people actually do at the stations?
Yeah, so besides registering their rides, we're trying to promote everyone to log their ride on the Go By Bike Week's website, so we can show how many people actually go with a bike or use active transportation as a mode to go around, without a car. Besides that, we also have some fun activities as well. We have a scavenger hunt that we included this year. And the pure intention for that is just to support local businesses downtown. So we have 9 businesses, and participants of Go By Bike would come in. They would get this scavenger hunt card that we have at each station. And on that card, we have 9 businesses, which the participants would have to go and collect the stamps at each business. So they would go to local businesses and they would collect the stamps. And once they complete all the stamps, they would submit that card to Go By Bike Week on socials or to our special email that we have on the card. And they'll get put into a draw to win some Evolve minutes. And some Modo credits as well.
What do you think people need to know about maybe the state of cycling in Nanaimo right now?
Well, I would say that it's still improving. It's growing. I'm seeing more trails being connected with one another within the city. While new roads are being built, bike trails are also being built on top of them in the same time, which does help to connect most of the bigger trails, such as the ENN. Having programs such as Evolve e-bikes as well is very helpful for people to get introduced to e-bikes and to cycling in general. We've been seeing quite a few people being curious about it and what it is. They're very easy to use, and they advocate for a larger group of people that might not want to buy a bike yet or might not want to buy an electric bike. We've personally used it to go to Gabriel Island, for example, so it's a very cool way to explore the surroundings more.
If you could make any changes around cycling in Nanaimo, what would they be?
I would say having more of a cycling group, such as a biking coalition in Nanaimo that supports every single cycling group in Nanaimo. We have mountain biking group, we have cyclists, we have more groups that are sort of separated, but having a coalition that supports everyone would be would be pretty sweet, I would say. So if that gets sorted out and improved on, maybe we could see more events like this happen with broader categories within biking, within cycling. So maybe the trails will get better like that, and maybe more people will advocate for cycling in Nanaimo.
Hi, my name is Michael Basili. I am the co-founder of a group called Strong Towns Nanaimo. We are a nonprofit that advocates for a city built for people, not cars.
And what is Strong Towns Nanaimo doing at this Go by Bike Week station?
Absolutely. So Strong Towns Nanaimo is applauding the city for all of its recent initiatives to build protected cycling infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure all around Nanaimo. So you see Complete Streets Albert, you see Metro Drive, you see the new Midtown Gateway project off Bowen Road. So there's lots of really, really good things to celebrate here. And we're here kind of voicing our support, but also on top of voicing our support, we are also pushing the city on the back end to implement more of these changes. The city has acknowledged that they know how to build safe infrastructure. We've seen that at Metro, for example. We know that raised bike lanes are safer, and they get lots of use when they're built. So we're here not only giving a round of applause to those projects that have already been completed, but also at the same time asking the city to continue to prioritize pedestrian safety over car drivers or those in vehicles.
When you say prioritize pedestrian safety over those in vehicles, what does that look like in practice?
Absolutely. So what that means in practice is when we build up spaces in our city, we have to consider the safety and the robustness of our infrastructure for anyone outside of a vehicle. And that's not just cyclists, but also people who are walking and people who are taking transit. Front Street, for example, a lane was removed off Front Street to add double bidirectional cycling infrastructure there, along with floating bus stops. That has transformed Front Street into essentially from what it used to be, which was a car gutter, into now a vibrant part of our downtown with people cycling and taking the bus and walking around and patronizing all of our shops. It's a beautiful, beautiful street now, and it's multimodal. It gives people options, whereas before the most obvious option was to drive.
Are you a cyclist around Nanaimo yourself?
Absolutely. And one thing that Strong Towns is very cognizant of is not calling people cyclists or pedestrians. We are all pedestrians after we leave our cars. People choose the mode of transportation that makes the most sense for them. I drove to the specific event because I had stuff in my vehicle, like tents and tables and boxes. But the last event, I biked. The last event before that, I walked. And tomorrow's event, I'm going to be taking the bus. So people make decisions every single day on their transportation based off of what's available to them. If there are bike lanes, people might consider taking their bike. If there are bus lanes and bus stops, they might consider taking the bus. So it's all about, we're all in the same boat here.
Are there any particular areas of town you feel when you're on a bike are particularly good routes, or any places that you feel especially need more action and you never maybe risk cycling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the obvious answer for the best route is Metro Drive. End-to-end protected cycling, buffered by trees and foliage. It is the reason you see so many kids on Metro is because it feels safe to be on Metro. Children and seniors are both indicator species of very good, safe infrastructure. To contrast that, Bowen Road, which is a major thoroughfare of our city, is incredibly clogged and prioritizes the high-speed movement of vehicles over people. You almost never see people biking, let alone walking on Bowen, because it feels inherently unsafe. A lot of people might not have the succinct vocabulary to describe what makes a road physically safe, but they know it when they are there. When they're walking on Bowen, they know that it feels uncomfortable. It smells bad. It's loud. It's dangerous because you're on a curb-tight sidewalk, and you wouldn't deign to ride your bike or even walk on this corridor. People who walk on Bowen are forced to walk on Bowen. People who commute on Metro, they have chosen that as one of their most viable and safe and pleasant options that they can take.
Is there anything else you'd want to share with people about either Strong Towns or Go by Bike Week?
Absolutely. So for Strong Towns Nanaimo, you can visit our website at beautifulnanaimo.ca or at stnanaimo on all the social medias. If you want bike lanes, if you want safe infrastructure in your city for pedestrians, cyclists, those taking the bus, email City Council, email the mayor. They're incredibly kind people, and they're incredibly receptive to input. Tell them the corridor which you are interested in. Tell them your concerns. They want to hear it.
You're listening to Midcoast Morning. We're hearing conversations I had at a Go by Bike Week station Tuesday evening at Nanaimo's Colliery Dam.
Thank you for having me. I'm Sadie Robinson. I'm the Active Transportation Project Specialist at the City of Nanaimo.
And this is one of a number of daily events this week for Go by Bike Week. When people hear this, obviously it's too late to come to Cullery Dam today, but what can people do Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Absolutely. So Go by Bike Week is on until June the 9th. That's this Sunday. We have daily activities going on. So tomorrow on Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. we're going to be at the Stevie Smith Bike Park. On Friday we're going to be on Front Street, same time, 4 to 6 p.m. And then we'd love if you'd join us on Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at Westwood Lake Beach. We're going to be there. We have treats and free swag every time. And then this Sunday we're going to be riding in the Pride Parade, which you can register online to join us as well.
You yourself, are you a cyclist around Nanaimo?
Yes, I am. I used to live a lot closer to work and I'd ride my conventional bike. Now that I live at the other end of town, I have adopted the e-bike, which has made it a lot easier for a more daily commute. Absolutely love spending my time before and after work on my bike, just enjoying what we have to offer here in Nanaimo.
Do you have any maybe favorite routes or places in the city to cycle? And at the other end of the spectrum, are there any places in town that you wish maybe it was a little more cycling friendly?
Totally. So my daily commute runs along the E&N Trail from north to south and then back at the end of the day. I love a good loop. We also have our Parkway Trail, which runs on the other side of the Parkway, north to south all the way. Either of those are great to serve the spine of our community. And in terms of areas that I think could be better built out, I'd love to see stronger connections moving forward in the south end, connecting to the Cinnabar Extension area, even south of Halliburton area. I know it's top of mind with the city, and we do look at that, and it's in our plans. But I think that's going to be really important going forward.
Cycling Volunteer Park Ambassador Joel.
And can you tell me what is going on here today? We're in Cullery Dam Park. We've got a station in the works of being set up. What's going to be happening here?
Well, we're going to be making people aware of the new safe passing law. The province of British Columbia has finally joined other civilized states and provinces by putting in a safe passing law that requires you to give vulnerable road users a meter of space when you pass them. And if you're passing at 50 kilometers an hour or higher, you must give them 1.5 meters of space.
When Midcoast Morning returns, we'll dive a little deeper into those new passing laws.
Midcoast Morning is made possible by the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Support Midcoast Morning and CHLY's nonprofit newsroom today by becoming a sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. Local news can't survive without your support. Another way to help us out is to share this show with your friends and tell them why they should support us. Finally, if you're listening to the podcast edition of Midcoast Morning, go and give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast feed you use. It helps people find us.
As of this Monday, there are minimum distances that drivers are legally required to give cyclists and other vulnerable road users when passing. On streets with a speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour or less, drivers will need to give at least a meter when passing cyclists. That distance goes up to 1.5 meters on highways with speed limits over 50. The BC Cycling Coalition had been advocating for this change. I got in touch with their board chair, Peter Ladner.
Well, off the top, I'll just say it's a great moment for us because it's a breakthrough we've been working for years. When I say we, I've only come relatively lately to this, but for years there's been an association of a mixture of trial lawyers, public health advocates, bike advocates, pedestrian safety people, traffic safety people who have been clamoring for changes to the Motor Vehicle Act, which hasn't been updated for decades. And we wanted it to be changed to be called the Road Safety Act, and we had a whole list of stuff that we wanted. But we realized that you can't ask or expect government to do all those things all at once. So we had to pick one or two things that we thought were important, and we landed on this one. And then it was just a matter of lobbying the government and discussing with them, actually almost negotiating with them what those distances should be, because we still don't think that 1 meter is really adequate. We'd like it to be 1.5 meters minimum everywhere, but this is a great step in the right direction. And really what it does is signals to other road users, particularly people driving, of course, that there are vulnerable road users there, and they are at a complete disadvantage compared to people in cars and trucks. And so therefore you have to pay attention to their safety needs and take this small step in reducing the carnage on the roads.
I was listening just recently to a podcast episode where you were interviewing Kay Teshi, who's a retired UBC prof in occupational and environmental health. And she was mentioning some of the first jurisdictions to put in a 1 meter passing rule. She described it as it was sort of like an arbitrary, let's say a meter. And what she found as the impact, or what was found as the impact, was that people had maybe been giving a bit more space. And then because the new law said a meter, it was almost like, well, we can just give them a meter. Is that something you can speak to?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about how wide this distance should be, what the evidence is from other jurisdictions. We will now be encouraging and expecting some kind of research and data collection on what kind of difference, if any, is this making. And I think we're likely to conclude that the distance should be even greater. But as I said, just having any distance at this point gives ICBC and the provincial government a chance to educate drivers about these basic issues of providing a safety zone for cyclists and pedestrians.
So what's the impact concretely that you expect these laws to have right now? Is it that piece you just mentioned of now there's a starting point for institutions like ICBC to talk with the public about this?
Well, not just talk to the public, but ICBC administers driver's license tests, and I would expect that in the next iteration of driver's license tests, there will be a requirement for new drivers to know this and pay attention to this and be aware of it. And I think that the impact will not be profound on the street, but it's, as I said, it's a first step, and it's a recognition and an opportunity to educate drivers and get more mileage, as you might say, out of that than specific enforcement of this law, which would be pretty difficult to enforce. But I will say also that one of the benefits of a law like this, regardless of the distance, is as long as there is a legislated requirement to keep a distance from a cyclist, if a car or vehicle hits a cyclist, they're automatically guilty of contravening this law, because they've come too close. And before, that wasn't the case. And you could hit a cyclist and it was just too bad for the cyclist.
Is there anything else you think it's important to bring to this conversation today?
No, I guess just that I think there's a lot of people, especially now with e-bikes and the increased accessibility that they offer to people of all ages and abilities and fitness levels, there's a big desire for people to be out moving around in ways other than in a car or in a car by themselves. And all these measures are vital for enabling that to happen. And when and if that does happen, we will have fewer injuries. We will have healthier people. People will be having fun when they're moving around from one place to another instead of being angry at each other, as we all do. And I do anyway, in my car or in a truck or something. And people will, in more condensed areas, they will find that they can afford to get rid of perhaps a car instead of having two cars, go down to one, save a ton of money, and of course, lighten their load on the environment and reduce their GHG emissions. So there's so many wins waiting if we can get this right. And this is one step to getting us there. And the BC Cycling Coalition and so many other organizations, I know you've got lots of great cycling advocates in Nanaimo and Comox Valley, particularly. I know of some. They're members of ours. Are pushing for that and hoping for that and trying to make these other options possible for people who want to use them.
Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Hey, Joe. My pleasure.
Peter Ladner is chair of the board of the BC Cycling Coalition. With construction season in full swing, and with ongoing work downtown on Terminal Avenue, drivers have lots of chances to run into lane closures. I got in touch with Josh Smythe, Customer Care Manager and Automotive Specialist for BCAA, to find out the best way to keep everyone moving as smoothly as possible when it's time to move over. What do the studies tell us is the best, most efficient way to keep the flow of traffic going when there is a lane closure?
When there's a lane closure, the zipper method for changing lanes has been proven to be the most effective way. And this is most commonly practiced when people are entering the highway, which is the exact same action with the exception of speed. So when you're coming into a construction zone, obviously slowing down is your first step. Everybody should be slowing down for any kind of ambers, reds, blues, any flashing lights, any construction signs often give you an indication of the speed limit. For example, if you're in 80 kilometer hour zone or a little bit less, maybe it's a 70 kilometer hour zone, drop down to a good 40. That's you're going to be slow and safe. And of course, to do the zipper mode, if everybody's doing 40 because everybody's slowing down to move over, pace yourself with the car and move into an available space when it's safe. And, let the next one go. The car behind you gets behind the car that got behind you, and so forth. It's alternating is the best way it can be described. And it is the most effective way to merge in order to get into the next lane without obstructing traffic, because the people in that lane are also, should be aware and concerned of the construction as well, and also be available to leave space for people that will be merging.
Let's say I want to do the zipper merge, but there's a long line of cars in one lane, the lane that's not dying, and then the other one is empty for a long stretch. And I'm afraid if I drive all the way down to it, I'll look like a jerk and no one's going to let me in.
Well, driving all the way down to the end of the line is not the wrong thing to do. I mean, this is available road for you. An available space that the construction zone had set aside for zipper merging. So, I appreciate maybe the consciousness that somebody might feel that, they're skirting to the front of a line. But at the end of the day, this is that stretch that you could use for that opportunity to pace the vehicles in order to make the merge. Nobody's expecting you to make the merge at the end of the line, like where you have absolutely no option, because at that point you usually need to slow down. And then when you slow down and change lanes, you're now obstructing traffic, and you create this ripple effect of everybody behind you needing to slow down, which in turn kind of wrecks the zipper merging. So use the stretch of road in order to get into a point into a safe location in the next lane.
So the zipper merge only really works in this kind of most efficient fashion if the cars don't actually have to stop at any point, if they're just slowing down?
Well, that's kind of the idea of the zipper merge, is to achieve the same speed so you're not obstructing traffic. Now, in the scene of a construction zone, there may be an opportunity or a time where a road crew might come out and hold up a stop sign, which is going to create a stop. And if you are in we'll say the right lane as you're approaching this construction zone, and it's the right lane that's coming to an end, if vehicles have all stopped, by all means, stack up like you would as if you were in two lines, two queues to get into a park or into the movie theater, and literally alternate getting into the next lane. So if you're in the left lane, leave a little bit of space for the person in the right lane to come in, be it in front of you, be it behind you. As long as we're alternating, this is the most effective way, whether we're moving or in stop and go traffic, in order to get everybody funneled into a single lane and safely pass the construction zone.
Is there ever a situation where you should change lanes to go into the dying one if there's a big, long, empty space there?
No, that's changing lanes into the empty lanes in order to gain a couple of car lengths before you need to merge back into the available lane. That's a little bit of a dirty pool move. As you asked earlier, would it be right to use that lane to drive all the way up to the front? If you're already in that lane, sure, that would make sense. But at the end of the day, if you're already in the lane you need to be in, just exercise your patience, remain in that lane, and you'll get past the construction zone, and then you can decide which lane you're going to be in after that.
Do you know if there's a kind of buy-in BC-wide about zipper merging? Do people know that this is the efficient technique?
I believe that people should be aware that zipper merging is the most efficient technique. Back in the day when I took my license, that was actually a question in order to get your driver's license. I suspect that information and that detail hasn't changed. So I do believe everybody within the province with a driver's license is aware that zipper merging is the best and most effective way, be it on the highway, construction zones, or in the case that you might find an emergency vehicle on the side of the road. It's always important to slow down and move over. And in order to move over, the zipper merge is the best motion in order to do that.
Josh Smythe is the Customer Care Manager and Automotive Specialist for BCAA. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and RB Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca/subscribe for updates from our nonprofit newsroom and more. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, email us at news@chly.ca. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
Midcoast Morning would not be possible without the funding of the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Midcoast Morning is a project of CHLY's nonprofit newsroom. Support nonprofit journalism in Nanaimo and on the Sailor's Sea today by becoming a monthly sustaining donor at $5 or more per month. Support the program at chly.ca/donate. If you're already a supporter, record a voice memo telling others where you're listening from and why they too should support our work. After you're done, you can email it to us. Also, share the podcast with your friends. While Meta is blocking Canadian users from sharing news content on their Facebook feeds, you can still share our podcast directly with your friends via Facebook or Instagram Messenger. Finally, this program acknowledges and gives thanks to the Nanaimo First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.